It's 4 o'clock, so it's my honor to call to order the Historic Preservation Commission of Eureka. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Herlihy?
Here.
Commissioner Knight? Commissioner Loring?
Present.
Commissioner Petty?
Present.
Commissioner Sievertson?
Here.
Commissioner Summers?
She's coming in right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. The minutes of the June 1 meeting were distributed in the packet. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
None.
Hearing no additions or corrections to the minutes, is there any objection to approving the minutes as they were distributed?
No.
Hearing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. And let us note that Ms. Summers has joined us. No continued or rescheduled public hearings. We do have a new public hearing with regard to AK Properties residential rehab. Would you like to give us the report?
Directed at us?
No, that's directed at staff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the way it works is we listen to staff, we ask questions of staff, and then we give the opportunity to the applicant to speak to the commission, and then if there's anybody in the audience, virtual or real, we give them the opportunity to speak. Once we've heard all of that, we close debate. We close the public hearing portion and debate the motion and decide what to do. So this is the staff report.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Today we're looking at the rehabilitation of two sister homes. Our planning technician, Nay Herrera, is managing this project, and I don't think that you've met her yet, but she is out on vacation, so I'm going to be presenting for her today. The sister homes for today's project are located on the same property in the west portion of Eureka, approximately 1 block east of Broadway. And they're at 820 and 824 Summer Street, which is also known as 312 West Washington Street. The two homes are located on the eastern portion of the property, and there is an existing commercial business located on the western side of the lot, but no modifications are proposed to the commercial structure at this time. The Green Book describes 820 Summer Street as a 1.5-story frame cottage with gabled roof and decorated entrance with window hood. It describes 824 Summer Street as a 1.5-story frame cottage with gabled roof and bracketed entrance hood. The homes will continue to be used as residences. The list of proposed work by the applicant for the sister homes is quite extensive. 820 Summer Street requires roof material replacement, and the existing wooden shingles, which have not been confirmed as being original, are proposed to be replaced with black composite shingles. The applicant also proposes to remove the outdated and broken exterior lighting located on the outside and replace it with the styles shown here. The style on the left is for the front porch, and the style on the right for the back and the side porch. Installation of interior wall heating units, which have 13 by 13 inch exterior vents, along with roof exhaust pipe components, are proposed, and the wall vents will be painted with high heat paint to blend with the house colors. They're also proposing to replace 2 doors, both the front door and the back door, with the door style shown here. For 824 Summer Street, the roofing material will also be replaced with black composite shingles, which will create a uniform look with 820 Summer Street. And the same type of heating system will be installed with the approximate location of the 2 heating vents shown here. The exterior front and back doors will be replaced with the same style as proposed for 820 Summer Street, as will the exterior lighting in 3 different locations on the building. All of the windows on the lower level will be replaced with vinyl windows, which will match the other existing windows at the residence, as well as the windows at 820 Summer Street. The illegally built deck on the rear of the structure will be removed, and the illegal door replaced with a vinyl window to match the other windows of the home. As noted in your staff report, the post and pier foundation, at least a portion of it, has been replaced on the north side of 824 Summer, and the siding was removed to allow that replacement, and beadboard to match the skirting on the other sides of the home and on 820 Summer Street was added back instead of. Eureka Municipal Code Section 157.006 C's in Charles requires a proposed alteration to be reviewed in light of its effect on the existing historical character of the structure as it relates to the streetscape. And in addition, the analysis is based upon the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, specifically the standards for treatment of rehabilitation. Based on the analysis within the staff report, staff believes the proposed alteration meets the standards for rehabilitation and recommends the Commission approve the project with conditions. And I do have a suggested motion available whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, and the applicants are with us in the audience today.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions of staff?
I have one. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you could clarify, you had mentioned that there was some siding removed and repaired and also skirting. It wasn't clear to me which building it was on and what kind of siding was removed and replaced.
So on the, I believe it's the north side of the structure, there was post and pier foundation that the siding came right down to the ground on that side.
Huh.
So the lower portion of the siding was removed, post and pier foundation replaced by perimeter foundation, and beadboard skirting installed instead of reinstalling the siding. And applicants, please correct me if I'm incorrect about that.
You're correct. It's 24 inches from the ground is how much was removed, and then we're replacing it to match the existing skirt on the other side of the property.
Thank you.
Okay, and from the picture, it wasn't clear what kind of siding was on that side of the building?
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
one.
It is the asbestos tiles, I believe, that were put in maybe the 1950s.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
I just want to clarify the doors. It says the windows were installed unpermitted, but it appears the doors were also installed unpermitted because the doors were not there when this was listed on the local register. So all
Yeah.
of the doors and windows have been replaced.
Yes, we don't have a record of when the doors were replaced.
Yeah, they're in pretty bad shape.
And they may have been replaced multiple times too, since we have no record.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would imagine they're probably at least 8 years old, but they've been badly abused. But long before we purchased it.
Any other questions of staff? All right. If there are no questions to staff, then we'll open the public hearing and we'll invite the applicant or the rest of the commission if you wish. You don't have to, but you're more than welcome to.
This is for us.
This is you. This is your podium. You get to speak.
Okay. As far as we're just very grateful for your guys' help along with this project. We got a copy of your green book to help us along with everything that we're doing down there, and we're hoping to just make that whole corner a lot more bright and cheery, and hopefully get some other people in the neighborhood to fix up along with us.
Any questions of the applicant?
Bruce
Oh,
did.
it's for them.
Bruce.
Okay.
Oh, Bruce?
Yeah, I had a question as to the asphalt shingles that are on 320, is it? The one closest to
820.
the point. Pardon?
That's 824 is the one on the corner.
Okay. Have you given any thought to removing those? Because there would be, I'm sure, underneath matching horizontal siding that is the same as on the other one.
Oh, I see, on the outside.
Yeah.
I would be open to it at some point. It's definitely, there's a lot of issues with the property, so there's definitely a lot of things that would probably supersede that. But I would be open to it. The one at 820 does not have those tiles, and it does have the clapboard on the outside. So if it's salvageable, that would be, I think, a good thing to do.
I'm asking because I'm a contractor as well as other things, and I have removed those, and quite often the wood underneath is really nice. Like you said, it was probably a Sears salesman came around and said, we'll put this stuff on and they're going to be there forever and ever. Well, I was alive in 1950s. Yep, they're still there, you know. So, and unless it's changed to dispose of those, all you had to do was double bag them and put them into a landfill. That was the last I heard. I'm retired now, but
right. I think that's what I heard as well, but I can double check on that.
Yeah. It's not something they're not challenging to get off, and they just really update or bring back to life the
right.
history of the building.
Yeah, and I think that would be better than having to hunt down, because there's some of them that are missing or cracked, or so it'd be a heck of a lot easier to take them off and than having to match them.
And you guys are young; it's fun.
Yeah, I guess it's something to do on the weekend. And we definitely plan on keeping the properties for as long as possible. So we definitely want to fix them up as nice as possible so that we can hold on to them for definitely.
Yeah, forever.
Any other questions of the applicant?
I have a question.
Yes.
On 824 Summer Street, where you're taking out the illegal balcony or whatnot and putting in a window, it just says that you're going to be using a matching window, but are you going to be, I'm assuming you're going to be matching the siding and frame it in. Is there a window that you have in mind, and are you matching the siding, or how is that going to fit in that door space?
Well, like I was saying, in order to make the repairs, it would be a lot easier just to remove those the asbestos siding on the side, especially for the back half of that. It would definitely need to be, because it's a fairly large sized door, so I feel it would look odd if we just replaced it with a window. So like I would definitely want to encase it a little bit better to make it, an average size looking window so it doesn't look out of place. So if we did go to remove the asbestos siding off the back, that would make it a little bit easier, because then we wouldn't have to replace that, because I'm not sure, like I said, where to even get that.
So how are you going to install the window without putting any new siding around it? I'm assuming the door isn't going to be a huge window, or are you doing a floor to ceiling window?
Oh, well, that's what I mean. Like I would definitely have to, I don't do second story windows because I'm not a heights person. So who I find to do this for me, I want to make it, look more like a normal size window. So it's not like, ooh, that's a really long window there. That just looks out of place, because I just wanted to look like it did before, which I imagine there was no door there. It was probably just a regular window. And then, I would probably, in order to do that, would have to remove the siding on the back of the house. And if we're going to do that, we might as well start working around the rest of the house. But that's when we go to paint. So we're just trying to get mainly the interiors finished, and then we're going to start working on the exteriors a little bit.
Okay.
Bruce?
That answers that.
You're Keaton, are you?
Yes, I'm Keaton.
Okay. That's what it says, but there's two of you, so it's
Oh, yeah. I'm Keaton. This is my husband.
If you get an opportunity to get a hold of the Heritage Herald that Eureka Heritage Society puts out, some nice person that's on this commission has been writing a Craftsman Corner about windows and replacing siding and how to weave them back, the siding back together to make it look like it was never taken away.
Right. Okay.
In fact, I think that's the topic of this Craftsman Corner that nice person is just finishing up.
Yeah.
You sound like a very nice person. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicants? I've got a couple then. First, this is not a question, this is a suggestion. Hardy makes a V-rustic siding that has a profile very close, if not exact, like the historic redwood V-rustic siding. That would be a great material. It's relatively inexpensive. That's a great material. You may want to use it on that gable wall when you reconstruct it. You may want to consider using it for your skirting, because it would mimic the original skirting.
That would be great. And you're saying V as in Victor?
V as in Victor. It is, yeah, it's
Okay.
nominally is a 6-inch board, but there's a little V at each one of the joints, and each one of the joints has a tongue and groove. So it's a great material.
Okay. That sounds good.
That's
I like the hard.
Yeah, and hardy plank is, God knows, maybe in 50 years we'll discover it's awful. But right now it looks to be a great material. Second thing, the building has damaged the cornices. Some of the two buildings, some of the return cornices are severely damaged. Are you planning to repair those or reconstruct those in this phase of the project?
Yes. I mean,
Uh-oh.
Must have been a difficult question.
and obviously we're going to wait until we get the box. And they were talking about hooking me up with
I'm
somebody
sorry,
over there to get.
you froze, so we missed a good portion of what you were saying. Can you reel back and start again?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just saying I am a stickler for detail, and I've been talking to a friend that works at Blue Ox, and he was going to hook me up with somebody over there, unless you had somebody that you can recommend that can recreate those for us.
They're actually relatively simple constructions. They're just little boxes. But what I was thinking is you're going to be up on the roof. You're going to be up in that area. It's the perfect time to deal with that stuff. And I noticed that some of it's deteriorating at this point.
It will get done.
Yeah. The third point, windows. Some of the windows are flush mounted with the trim.
Correct.
Okay? That's inappropriate.
Okay.
And
So
in my
it's-
personal opinion, it looks awful. So you want, to the extent possible, you want the windows to be inset like they would if they were an original wooden frame window, or at least so the profile of the trim stands proud of the surface of the window.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, and I'm going to. Do you guys have any resources as far as like people that work on windows for older homes, or that just kind of?
We can collectively help you, but that's not something we can do individually. That's not something we do as a commission. There is the city staff has a list of resources. I suspect you may or may not have had access to those. That's a good place to start. If it's not getting you what you need, call me and I'll dig up what I can.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. The last thing, observation on 820. The water board is missing. It's a horizontal projection. It's usually a 2x4 beveled. A horizontal projection between the siding on the house and the skirting.
Oh yes, it is missing. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's missing on a piece on 824, I believe, too. And
Right. I raised that because without that water board, you're going to have water infiltration and potential rot.
Right.
So it is an issue that you may want to deal with sooner rather than later.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's definitely a good point. Okay.
And I've run out of questions. Any other questions for the applicant?
No, not really.
Okay. Seeing there are no questions, I will ask for the sake of form whether or not there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the commission on this. Seeing no one on the audience, seeing no one on Zoom, I will close the public hearing portion of the meeting. So at this point, we will deliberate on your request for approval. Comments?
In the description, more than as it was read, it was noted that there was some work that was permitted that hadn't come through our review yet. Has that been addressed?
Staff, would you like to comment on that?
So that was, I believe, replacement of windows in the 70s, I think it was.
It's not.
And
not
then
current.
the foundation work and skirting that was recently done.
Okay, so that was recently permitted by the city.
Mistakenly, yes.
Okay. Do we know how that got through?
I don't know the exact reasons why building chose to issue that permit.
And was that
We've discussed it since then, and
with the current owners?
they've
or
been
previous?
asked not to do that. I believe it was the current owners.
Yeah, it was us, but whoever I remember speaking to said that it had been approved, but only for that particular thing, and everything else would need to be reviewed. And then the contractor called and said, "Hey, they gave me the permit, so I'm going to go ahead and start." And so I figured it was all good to go. So I apologize about that. I didn't know that it wasn't communicated from one department to the other.
And yes, that's on us, so I do apologize for that.
Okay. It just seems very similar to the park we recently had to review.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another item that slipped through the cracks of different departments working together. So.
This is beyond this. This is a conversation we should perhaps have after this because it's really beyond the scope of what the applicant is asking us to do. But let's bring it up after we deal with this matter.
Okay.
So what's your pleasure?
So if those issues are being resolved by us getting a chance to review this project, then I think that we have a dedicated homeowner that's doing what they can. I think it would be lovely to see some of the more historic things noted in this presentation, but I can understand the financial burden that would represent.
Commissioner Hurley, could I ask you to be
Face-
sure you're speaking? Yeah.
Or move it.
Please,
Pull it closer.
please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's that?
All right. Shall I interpret that as a motion to approve this the motion as directed, written by staff?
Was anybody else going to make a comment first, though?
You're up. Oh, well, after you make the motion, we will comment. It's not the end of debate. It's just the beginning.
Sure. I'll make the motion that staff suggested.
Okay, the staff motion has been put on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Debate, discussion.
Discussion, I think, centers around that we're so happy that someone has finally taken these buildings on because we expected them to meet with an untimely demise if someone didn't. It's unfortunate that they've lost so much of their historic material, but at least you guys are saving them before they're entirely gone. So we commend you for taking these on.
Yeah, when I saw this item on the agenda, I wanted to stand up and cheer. Hubbard's has been my mechanic for a decade or more, and so I drive by that corner a lot. And the structures are typical of Eureka settlement era.
Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, although they are reputedly older than that, they are the kinds of structures that regular people lived in during the Victorian era. And as such, they are the ones in sense that are most at risk. So you're saving an important, if modest, part of our culture. So I commend you for that.
Well, thank you. We live in another house that's in your book, and we're on C Street, so we're only a few blocks down. So it's part of our community, and we feel very strongly that the whole area, we've seen nothing but people fixing up and painting and taking pride in their houses, and that's why we're investing in this community, because it's definitely worth it.
Excellent. Bruce, you wanted to comment?
One comment. I know everything's boarded up there, but if any of those windows under the boards are salvageable, there are always people looking for wooden frames that they can cut down, resize, or something like that. And like with the chair, you could contact me and maybe I can direct them to somebody that would use them for another house or something like that.
I sure wish there were, but they have all been replaced. They're all
Aluminum.
They're not aluminum, but they're all vinyl. In the front, and all of the exterior doors are all steel. So they've all been. I mean, and it's pretty much bottom of the barrel construction grades.
Yeah. Okay.
I do have an amendment to make to the motion or propose for the motion. It has to do with the windows. I suggested, and the applicant seems agreeable to making sure that the windows are mounted behind the trim rather than on top of it. So I would like to include a requirement in that regard. Am I being too obtuse, or is staff understanding what I'm trying to say? So that's my motion. Is there a second for my amendment?
I will
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? All right, then let's dispose of the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. It appears to be unanimous in favor. So we're back to the main motion. Any further discussion of the main motion? Then I sense you're ready for vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Again, it appears to be unanimous in favor. So the motion has passed. Traditionally, we have staff explain to you the technicalities about what comes next. Kristen?
So the Historic Preservation Commission has taken action to conditionally approve your project. We will send you a post-meeting letter that describes the conditions that they've placed on that approval. There is a 10-day appeal period, and provided there are no appeals filed within that 10-day period, then the action of the commission will become final. And feel free to call planning if you have any questions in the interim.
Again, thank you for your efforts. I hope the property brings you nothing but joy. So, shall we move on? Old business.
So far, it's been a challenge.
Okay. Old business. In the agenda packet was a letter dated July 6th with regard to the discussion we had before I disappeared. The objective was, what we did was we brainstormed ways in which the commission might determine if there is public support for two changes to the strategic plan of the city of Eureka. One focuses on strategies that might preserve existing structures or encourage the preservation of existing structures, and the other was focused on encouraging a neighborhood pride in addition to community pride. We brainstormed a long list of entities who might be familiar with or might be interested in those issues. I have two questions for you. One, is there anybody you want to add to the list? It's not exclusive. And then secondarily, I would like you to help me identify contact people for them, individuals. My game plan going forward would be to test the waters, send out an invite to the folks, find out if this is an issue, these two issues are ones that they might be interested in pursuing. And if we get a reasonable number of responses, then schedule a meeting to have a conversation. The conversation would focus on what the action plan might be. So that's the game plan. I would ask you to take the chart, the table of entities, add to it, identify individuals, and then share that information. To keep us clear of the Brown Act, I would suggest that you share that information directly with Kristen, and then she can share it with us collectively. Okay? Are you willing to accept that assignment?
Absolutely. With open arms. Yes.
All right. Any other comments or questions about that?
Only one resource that was pointed out to us last week or last month. That map on the wall there
Yes.
breaks down some of the neighborhoods once upon a time in our community.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes? Bruce?
When we talked about this initially, I said I would ask the EPD about neighborhoods if they had any kind of information about them, and they sent me a neighborhood watch map for the neighborhood watch program. I realize these are not historic neighborhoods at all, but we were talking about resources for neighborhoods, and that might be a group that identifies with certain areas that can connect through EPD with.
That's an excellent insight. All right. Any other comments on this proposal?
No, just that I would request that staff send this back out to the commissioners with the request for additions and just a reminder that we need to get working on this. Yes.
And not to tip my hand, but I will probably send out reminders too.
Well, that's fine.
Through staff, so I don't get Brown Act issues. Any other comments or questions on this agenda item? I skipped over what I promised, the discussion I promised Sean, which was on things getting lost and being approved. Is there, I presume the city did not do a forensic analysis to determine exactly what happened. It's probably not appropriate. Do you have a sense as to whether or not it is likely to be a continuing issue?
It's an issue that seems to arise generally when we have new staff. Even if we have provided new staff that information that, we have design review, we have historic preservation, we have coastal zone, those kinds of things. And as they are going through their learning process, things slide by. So I know that I do my best to try and ensure that those kinds of things don't happen, but I, like you, oftentimes find out after the fact that it's actually happened. So we will continue to remind other departments and ask them to always check in with us before they're issuing permits or making park plans or whatever the situation might be. And I can share with you that for me personally, it's probably just as frustrating as it is for you. So you are not alone in that.
You make me feel better. Any other comments or questions on the topic?
No, just that I think this has to be a continual thing, that we're always educating staff and reminding each other of how this overlap happens and doesn't happen sometimes. So.
Yeah, if we could just get the humans out of the equation. Again, any other comments or questions on the issue? All right. If not, then we move on to new business. We've been invited to appoint 2 representatives to the waterfront specific plan stakeholder conversation. Kristen, you want to explain that in simple words?
Sure. So the City of Eureka is working on a specific plan that covers a portion of the waterfront, and it's shown on the map that was in your agenda packet on the letter. There are 3 districts that have been identified in Old Town Bayfront area, and we are looking at ideas of what kind of things people want in those individual districts, the types of housing and structures and density and uses, all of those kinds of things that go into specific and general plan ideas, and putting that together. So as part of the process of compiling information, we wanted to invite the commission to have 2 representatives at the conversation that we'll have with other board and commission members to provide input for that.
Do you have a sense as to the scope of the responsibilities? How many meetings, that kind of stuff?
I imagine it's probably just going to be one.
Okay.
That's doable. So.
One and done?
Yeah.
Okay.
There will be other meetings, of course, on the topic, and welcome and encouraged to attend those, but this one is the one with the specific invitation.
Okay. And do you have any idea as to how many people will be in the room?
I think that altogether for this conversation, there's off the top of my head, 20 people from various boards and commissions. We're inviting 2 from almost all of them.
And the meeting is likely to take place in August?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And once we know who the representatives are going to be, we will get in touch with them and work to find a time that works for all of them. It will be either via Zoom or an in-person meeting, so up to the representative's choice how they participate.
Chuck?
Can you enlighten us on how these 3 districts were developed? Because they don't really, the Old Town District, if it coincides with the Old Town Historic District, is a no-brainer, but in the past there has not been a library district or a commercial bayfront district. So how were these determined? And
so those are actually identified during our general plan process that we went through between 2015 and 2018, and they're described and envisioned in that plan. At some point in the future, they will be incorporated into our local coastal program, which we're working on updating, and it was a handy boundary to use for this particular specific plan.
okay.
All right. So we understand the job. Is there anyone on the commission who wants to volunteer?
I would volunteer if we're talking about one meeting. Yes. Ish.
Bruce, you're volunteering. Are you wishing to speak? Anybody else wish to volunteer? All right. Seeing as we have 2 people volunteering for 2 positions, will you communicate back that the commission would like Chuck and Bruce to serve?
I will certainly do that, and thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on that topic? If not, then we move on to directors' reports and communications. Is there anything you want to tell us? So
Jacob Nunez, our assistant planner, has left us. His wife found a position in Oregon, and so they moved there this week. So he is gone. Nay, who is the manager for the project today, like I said, I don't think that you've met her yet. She's currently working for us, basically full time. She's going to be going to grad school, so her hours are going to be reduced. We are interviewing actually this week for a person to replace Jacob, and we received another assistant planner position in the budget that became effective on July.
Nice.
So at some point in the not too distant future, we hope to have 2 new people to add to our team. So we're looking forward to that.
Having run a business with lots of people for a long time, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
It's exciting and demoralizing at the same time.
Definitely. And that's all I had for you today.
Okay. Are there any other reports for the commission to share? All right. Then we move on to the public comment period. For the sake of form, I will ask whether or not anyone in the audience, virtual or real, wishes to address the commission. If so, approach the microphone or raise your hand. Seeing no one doing either, I will close the public comment period. Is there any other business for this commission for today? If not, then we stand adjourned until Wednesday, August 3rd in this room at 4 p.m. Thank you all for your time.